This space is for action items from what I've learned from the past 7 days. We've had a few spaces where white people were in attendance, and I have reviewed the recordings and took some notes. Um, there are a few things that I found that has worked and others that have not worked. I'd like to review those. This space I'd like to review those and focus on next steps. Um, some of the things that have not worked that I would like to avoid. Not evaluating physical and emotional state of myself. Um, Sometimes I'm not in the mood to interact with other people, and trying to get questions from people at that time has not been effective. I've also seen how it works with other people, and it just derails the conversation. Um, Another thing, educating white people. I've noticed attempts to ask questions to us when we need constructive information. I think that is a tactic to distract and derail the topic. And I have noticed a non-white person do this as well. Um, uh, Trying to ask for education from Black people or other non-white people. Three, speaking to their hearts. I heard this in Salt Space on the 22nd. I never want to hear that again. I'm speaking to your heart, was what this person said. That was not appropriate. That's not what we're here for. If white people are going to be in our spaces, we need to be getting constructive information and not uh, providing information. White people do not need us to give them education, to speak to their hearts, to be an emotional support system. We need constructive information. All right. The things that I saw from some of you in this room, if not all of you in this room, yes, all of you in this room, and some other people, um, the three of the biggest things that I would like to do more of and apply that to the next conversations that I have going forward. Um, One is from a young lady, compensatory constructive silence. So the lady was asking for uh, help in her work environment. She's in our WhatsApp group, and she asked a very direct question for the safety of the people who were going to be using the space, and she was not getting direct answers. And her response was to be silent until her questions were answered. So I will be using that. I think that allows time to think, to go back to your notes and to ask yourself the four basic questions. What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? How do I plan to do it? And what is the expected constructive result? The next one is asking binary questions. I was told this in the first space that I had regarding this experiment. Focus on yes or no questions. So if you get anything other than a yes or no, um, that would increase my suspicion that the person is practicing racism. If you specifically ask a direct yes no question, you should get a yes no or I don't know or I decline to answer, not a bunch of gobbledygook, a bunch of buckets of words. And especially not, and I will be discussing this on Zoom, especially not information that you did not request. It's one thing to volunteer information that is constructive. It's quite another to volunteer information that has nothing to do with the question that was asked. Um, the third one is to slow down and research, especially on social media, if that's where the interaction is taking place. Do your research on the other person. All three of these I got from other people who are either in the spaces or in other interactions that I had. So, one person I've noticed always looks up information on the person before. Do your research on them, see what type of, actually, more than one person has done this. See who you're dealing with before you start interacting with them. Okay, so over the next 7 days, my basic action item is to focus on the goal of obtaining constructive information and help to solve a specific problem. So refine my questions to where they are as precise and concise as possible, ask more binary questions, and do more of the compensatory constructive silence and slowing down and doing research and planning ahead first. Does anyone have any BGQ statements or questions? Raise your hand and I will give you the mic. Can I be heard?
What did you call it? Compensatory silence?
Compensatory constructive silence.
Yes, that is very constructive.
I found it very constructive. That's the name I put on it, but when Ash told us that story, I really was very impressed with that.
Yeah, I will attempt to do more. I'm going to call it compensatory conversation silence, but I will definitely attempt to do that in my interactions with all people because one must be very comfortable in silence and understanding that silence is not a incorrect or a correct response. It's simply a response.
And I find, especially after she told us that, I was able to use it in the workspace. And the problem that was presented to me was solved by the person asking the question. So they really didn't need my assistance. They took the time. I was silent, didn't give an immediate answer, and they ended up solving the problem themselves. So, Well, I'm enjoying the compensatory constructive silence, but I do have to prepare